from 24 to 1 to 28 to 1 about the pair of you on naps then. So nice nap boost. Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by Vitano. And we are all back together again, but a huge thank you to the Joes, Joe Tuffin and also Joe Napier as well for stepping in and stepping up to the plate as well, providing us with loads of winners in all of our various absences. We won't go into Dave's absence because he's only just got back from Portugal and he doesn't know if he's coming or going, where he is at this point, but we are hoping for plenty of winners though. Andrew Mount is back with us as well. We have 6 races televised on ITV on Saturday, and we're also going to take an early look at the 1000 Guineas at Newmarket on Sunday. But in terms of how the lads did last week, now a slow start with just a place from Billy Joe at 11 to 1 though for Dave from the first 2 races, but all 3 of the lads agreed that Gaelic Warrior should land the Oaksey Chase, and he was last week's host Joe Tuffin's nap. So he's put the pressure back on me, put it into the WhatsApp group saying no pressure, Kate, whatsoever, but I'm going to try my best this week to beat his naps then, or to at least join him. Now, he was the first of 5 Sandown winners advertised by Joe Napier, tipping Blue King Duru, who won at 10 to 1, beating Dave Selection Salva by a head. So the forecast was up. Joe then thought that John Bond was worth opposing, suggested Ilate Tomps was the way to play the race. He won at 9 to 2. Wasn't to be for Manila Kakuna in the Bet365 Gold Cup after being hampered early, but Dave did also advise the winner, Resplendent Grey. He went off at 9 to 2 in the end from around 8 to 1. And then in the lucky last, Dave felt Paul Townend might well have made the wrong choice, and Jumperland got the job done under Harry Cobden at 5 to 1. So lads, very well done all round. Right, we're going to get straight into it now. We're going to kickstart at Newmarket with the 145 Heritage Handicap, 4-year-olds and over 6 furlongs. Andrew, I'll go back to you then, please, for this one. Welcome back.
Hello, I've forgotten what to do. What do we have to do here? What's
Ditto, to be honest. So was this...
Yeah, good race this one. Your old friend Lethal Levi is here.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I was a betting man, I'd say that this could well be your nap from this week.
Oh, would you?
Well, Lethal Levi's got a poor record first time out. Third, absolutely nowhere. 8th and 3rd, 0 from 5. Second or third time out, he's won 3 of his 8 starts. Second and 2 of the others, he made a profit with the wins at 15 to 2, 3 to 1, and 5 to 4. We know he likes to go from the front. We know that Newmarket's running mile course favours such tactics. And I thought sort of blast off down the middle from stall 6 of 13 with those stalls in the centre. I thought he'd give us a good run for our money. But the one I keep coming back to is Woodhay Wonder. Now, I did put him up as a bet here last time out in my column, which was a bit stupid, really, because the ground went against him with the rain, and I put him up as a win bet, and he was third at odds of 17 to 2, having gone on the drift because of that rain. Now, he finished third to More Thunder that day, a son of Knight of Thunder, as his name suggests, a sire who gets plenty of winners when it's good, soft or softer, which it was that day. That was his first run for William Haggis after leaving after the retirement of Sir Michael Stout. But I think Woodhay Wonder could be the one to reverse the form, assuming it's going to be quick. I know they put loads and loads of water in on Newmarket this week, 10 mil one day, 15 mil another. But they don't water after racing. So after racing on Friday, you'd imagine come Saturday it's going to be pretty quick, even more so on Sunday. So I'm going to go with Woodhay Wonder. He's won 5 of his 10 starts on turf, and when the going adjustment according to Proform is 1.5 or greater, which means they're quick ground, and he's won 4 of his 5 starts. So it's a case of the faster the ground, the better for Woodhay Wonder. Didn't have conditions to suit, but still ran a corker here on his comeback. I think Lethal Levi will take them along. Woodhay Wonder can track. And draw-wise, again, since stalls are in the middle, we've seen at the Craven meeting that one day, I think day 1, you want to be down the centre as opposed to stand side. Day 2, you want to be far side. Day 3, you wanted to be stand side. So it's toss a coin or throw a dart at the board to find out where the best ground is going to be, perhaps. But yeah, Woodhay Wonder, store 12 and 13, and around about, I'm not sure what price you got there, sort of
5 to 1 with Vitano.
5 to 1, yeah, that seems fair enough. I'll take him to beat Lethal Levi. I
Perfect,
thought that
Lethal.
the ground might be too quick for Night of Thunder, although I concede that he's still progressive on only his second start for Haggis.
For more Thunder, yeah, for sure. Like you say, with that Night of Thunder sire angle, then for the current favourite at 7-2 more Thunder as well. But Woodhay Wonder 5-1 with Bitano. Lethal Levi in there as well at 8-1 with Bitano, bidding to blast off from the front. A horse that I don't know, got a turbulent relationship with. I think I catch him right every so often, but I'm
Don't
kind of
mention turbulence after Dave's nightmare trip back from Portugal.
exactly, Dave. I'm just bringing it all back to you now, but we're glad that you're back with us anyway and back talking racing again.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back too. I do feel a little bit tired, but maybe that's going to be the tactic to find more winners this week. I do agree with a lot of Andrew's sentiments with Woodhay Wonder. I can boost his chances even more for Andrew as well, because I think he's won second time up in his 2 previous seasons. There's lots to like about him, and he travelled really well in that race last time. He just didn't seem to find too much in the finish, which looked like a horse that would benefit from the run, as well as Andrew touched on the ground side of things too. But I did find it quite hard to get away from More Thunder. I know he's market leader in his 7-2. There's 4 places up for grabs with just 13 runners, so I don't think everything's got a chance in this race, but More Thunder's hard to get away from, because William Haggis, it was his first run for the yard. They dropped him back in trip, and when they interviewed him after, he was just saying, well, he just wasn't necessarily working at home as sort of mile 2 or mile 4 horse that he'd been running at before. So they just thought, well, we'll just run him at 6 furlongs and sort of see what happens. Now, I guess he probably will step up to 7 furlongs at some point in the season, but it feels a little bit like they're just going to keep running him at this trip until he gets beat. And I think that might not happen just yet. He's got a £5 penalty for this. I think he's about £3 well in. But even watching the performance last time and taking into consideration that Woodhay Wonder should step forward for that run, I do think it's a little bit difficult to see him reversing the form. And that's going under the proviso as well, that when they ran him in the race last time, I don't think it was like a complete and utter shock to the trainer, but it wasn't like a race they went into it with a load of confidence. I would have imagined they did it thinking, this is the first run. We actually think he needs a shorter trip. Let's ride him and just see how he goes. Whereas this time they know that the 6 furlong did work, and maybe they can make a little bit more use of him in there. And there's going to be a strong pace to aim at as well. So as much as he might want a little bit further, he didn't look like he was slow last time either. So providing he can stay in contention, I do think that More Thunder might just be worth siding with again until his mark starts to go up. But he'll be interested later in the season when he steps up in trip. He's the type of horse, especially in sort of mid-90s, he could be the group horse in a handicap at the end of the season, but it's a long way to go till he gets to there, I think.
I think that's a very, very polite way of William Haggis saying, what the bloody hell was Sir Michael Stout doing running him over 10 furlongs when he's clearly a sprinter, you donut.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, just an ever so subtle nod to that passive aggressive move by William Haggis, More Thunder, to uphold that form with Woodhay Wonder from 18 days ago. So the lads butting head in our first race. Now we're going to move on to the 2 o'clock at Goodwood. Now we're going to go to the listed Conqueror Filly Stakes, 3-year-olds and over a mile at 2 o'clock. 100 to 30 the field in this one, Dave. So pretty open contest.
It is, yeah. And you say butting heads, me and Andrew. I'd say covering all bases for the viewers. We want to make sure
Tomato.
Tipping every horse in the race, you mean?
Well, that's it, yeah. Get
well done for saying 100 to 30, not 10 to 3, Kate. Bless you.
I've got there eventually. It's taken how many years?
But yeah, this looks like a pretty tidy race, to be honest with you. I was like massively impressed with Crimson Advocate last time out in the performance in the race as it happened. Soprano was a dirty big drifter that day. Did win the race on like the head bob, wasn't it? It could have gone either way that day. There wasn't that much depth in behind. I'm probably being harsh because it was a listed race, but the sort of the ratings of the horses and the stands of those horses, if they were all in here, I don't think they would have been sort of finishing 3rd, 4th, and 5th in a contest like this. However, I do think for Crimson Advocate that you've got lots of reasons to think that you can upgrade the performance of the horse as well. She was running at 5 furlongs, wasn't she, when she was with the previous trainer, George Weaver? The Gosdens ran her at Royal Ascot over 5 furlongs, and she was well beaten there, but that was the first run. Then she had that significant break, and then they stepped her up markedly in trip. Now, she clearly got the mile. She's going to have more improvement in her after the fact of having a long layoff, I would suspect. And it was the first time that Rab hadn't ridden her. I mean, I know he would have done at home, but I'm just saying that there's a chance that she should be able to progress for the fact that it's 1 mile again. It's the fact that it's the second run for the yard and it's the second ride under Rab Havlin. She might not actually even need to step forward from that performance to do this. I know on sort of RPR figures, she's yet to do anything that's near her official rating of 106, but she's always been a horse that's got a load of ability. She didn't really step so much forward from a 2-year-old, but that last run would look like she's now maybe turned a corner. I thought she looked a reasonably fair bet in this race. I mean, I love a little each way thievery type stuff. There are only 3 places up for grabs, but I still think that 4-1 about her, I probably wouldn't even be looking to back her each way. I would just think if she does step forward from that run, she probably deserves to be favourite in here. So I think she looks a reasonable bet in here. I just think there's like loads of reason to think she'll be better than she did last time. And like I said, I do think that her last run would probably be good enough to win this anyway. I don't think this looks as deep a race as it could have been. So yeah, quite keen on Crimson Advocate.
Yeah, as you say, 4-1 then with Betano, and the fact that she is rated 106, and I know that you just say that she hasn't run up to that on the RPRs that she's shown basically her whole career though, but she's getting the £3 from Serona, the current 3-1 favourite with Betano now as well. Before my eyes, Serona. Andrew, how are you playing this listed race?
Yeah, I'd just like to remind everyone that in this race last year, I tipped 33-1 winner Royal Dress.
That you did, sir. That you did. The Night of Thunder filly.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing more to say. That's it. I'm just not offering anything else. I'm going to dine out on that and not have to say anything about this race for the next 12 years.
You bought yourself 3 years with that. I'm giving you 3 years to go with it.
Yeah, tricky one. This is likely to be much quicker this time around. Goodwood are calling it good going after again watering pretty extensively this week, not to the extent of Newmarket. And I'm going to take a chance of it drying out sufficiently for Sea to Sky for Rafe Beckett. Holly Doyle, an interesting booking for the yard. This one ran a good race on debut, finishing second to Flight at Sandown, and then won well on good firm ground on the Rolling Mile. Next time out, went to Newbury, 7 furlongs, heavy ground. Paid to be on the pace that day, did best of the closes in third. That was her third quick run in relatively quick succession. I thought when you look at the sire without parole, given his record on fast ground, I thought that she's going to do well on quick ground this year. And I thought Sea to Sky could make a winning start.
Sea to Sky, yeah, on this reappearance start then here as well. And a nice price to boot of 12-1, which is top price that I can see as well. With Betano, right, we're going to switch back to Newmarket again now for the 220. This is the Suffolk Stakes, the Heritage Handicap, 4-year-olds and over 9 furlongs. So I have 130 the field this time. Hand of God it is for Harry Charlton and Ryan Moore. First time since the gelding operation as well, Andrew, but who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, Hand of God does look pretty solid, and sort of 3 from 3 now. One of his last 3 starts. So you got I was going to say 3 from 3 since his debut, but that first win came third time out, and so it was 2 from 2 in handicap company. Appreciate the step up to 10 furlongs from scoring at Ascot last time out. Looks the sort of could be potentially sort of group standard this year. I thought Ryan Moore bulked. There's just so much to like about that. There was ones I wanted to be against here. Galeron, he's a qualifier on the Charles Hills early season turf runners angle, but that 5th in the Lincoln, he may have been flattered because he came from off the pace. Dutch Approval is a horse who tends to come good around about July and August time, so I thought it might be too soon for him. The other interesting one was Silver Sword, given that run at Newbury last time in the bizarre Spring Cup where they decided to run out the round course instead of the straight course. But you had to be wide that day and come down the near side rail. There's big bias at that Garena meeting at Newbury to high drawn runners on the straight course, but it kind of also sort of worked out on the round course there with those who swung wide in the straight and challenged close to the stand side rail, getting the better of things. And I thought Silver Sword, who was ridden patiently and stayed more far side in the straight under Jamie Spencer, no insults please. I thought that was a run worthy of a big upgrade. So although patient tactics on the Rolling Mile not necessarily ideal, I thought he was the danger to Hand of God. So I shall probably back Hand of God to win and just have a little bit each way on Silver Sword at a price.
14-1 with Batano, Silver Sword, and as I said previously, 100-30 Hand of God, currently heading the way with Batano. But a couple of darts then in what is a competitive race for Andrew, Dave. You're allowed to as well if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely mention two in here. Like, looks like a nice race. There's like a good bit of prize meant for grabs, but it's 50k for first, so it is a prize that's worth winning. With Hand of God, I always find it a little bit strange when horses are gelded when everything seems to be going fine and well with them. Like if they're on winning performances, the horse Hand of God beat at Sandown last year, Blue Lemons. He was gelded, went to Willie Mullins and won the Grade 2 juvenile at Fairy House. So I managed to get some jumps translations in there, but he was gelded after sort of disappointing on the flat. Whereas I don't know, the Hand of God thing, that he's like Andrew said, he's won his last 3 starts. They've gelded him and he's coming in here. He does look like he could be well handicapped off of 102, but I tend to prefer to see him have a run after they've been gelded to see what sort of a difference it might make for him, especially when he's that short a price at the front of the market. But I mean, there's no reason to say it would be to his detriment. They're not going to be doing something that's going to be a hindrance to him if he's already in good form. So, you know, he does deserve to be at the top of the market. The one I did quite like was Arabian Light, though. Will Buick's won this a few times, won it a couple of times with Charlie Appleby as well. Godolphin had a horse, King of Conquest, a couple of years ago that won this. He won a horse. He won a race, I think, in Dubai in that season in the beginning of the year, and then came and won this race after. Now, Arabian Lights had 2 handicap starts beginning of this year, and both times he's been odds on for those races. Got turned over the first time, but the second win was quite good. They were both over 1 mile 1. He looks like he needs every inch of the trip. And then potentially the form line of his win, we've got a horse who's reopposing in here, Sean, who's had sort of 38, 39 starts under rules, ran up to a similar level after the defeat behind Arabian Light, but then the time after was well beaten. The difference is that Arabian Light's just had the 5 starts under rules, and they've obviously, I say obviously, but they've got him into those handicaps. He got beat first time up. They knew they had a race to win with him, and then they've opted to come in here to pick up a 50k pot. As I say, Charlie Appleby and Will Buick have won it in the past before. This horse definitely needs further than 1 mile 1 furlong in time. I'm just hoping he doesn't need it in time for Saturday, because he won't be getting it, will he? But 1 mile 1 furlongs, I think he'll be standing with a wet sail. And if there is any reason to think that the gelding operation for Hand of God is because of something else to do with him, and that means that his form's going to take a little bit of a dip in there, I think Arabian Light's the one to take advantage. So obviously I've mentioned Sean slightly in there. If I do think that Arabian Light's got a chance and Sean was only beaten half a length, we've got a couple of pounds, I think he's £3 better off actually, but he's about an 18-1 poke. So I don't think I'd be brave enough to back that one, but I just thought he's worth a mention.
Yeah, worth a mention. There you go. You are allowed the extra mention as well. But Arabian Light even is currently at 7-2 in his second favourite. Yeah, it is a bit odd, isn't it? The Hand of God has been gelded since we last saw him, considering everything was continuing to go so well to him. But so we'll get our answers there on Saturday. Right, we're going to Thirsk now for the 2:35. The Thirsk Hunt Cup.
Careful how you say it.
every year I have the ultimate fear. This race is just a commentator's nightmare. 0 to 105 contest, 4-year-olds and over a mile. So Dave, the race that always makes us smile and laugh, up at Thirsk.
Yeah. There was a couple of eye catchers last time, Rhythm Master and Obelix, both running over 7 furlongs. I think it was a class 4 race last time though, but they were both eye catching for slightly different reasons. They were both tanking, couldn't really get a gap. Rhythm Master they were level, and the Rhythm Master managed to get sort of a length in front of Obelix, and did look like he had loads more on top of him at the line, but has run since, has been beaten. And Rhythm Master's only ever won at 7 furlongs, I think. So this stepping up to a mile started to put me off of him. So I thought, well, if Obelix was the other eye catcher, maybe I could start making a case for him. And for all that he is better over a mile, it is the class problem that worries me. He's won in class 4. That run that he ran all right behind Rhythm Master was another class 4, and this is a class 2. I just don't think either of them are up to winning this race. The one I do think that he's definitely got it in his locker to win this, and I can't actually believe the prices. I think he's 9 to 1 at the time of recording, 4 places up for grabs, so love a little juicy each way, don't we? But Flight Plan was very highly tried last season, and rightly so, because he ended the previous campaign with a Group 2 win in Leopardstown over this trip. Peaked at a rating of 113 at that point. He's now down to a mark of 102, which is for his handicap debut. Probably a prep run last time out. It was a conditioned stake, but it was over 7 furlongs, but at this track, and it was the first time that Sam James had ridden him, who stays on top here. So it feels like that was a prep run with a view to coming into this race, as far as I'm concerned. He's another one that's not a prolific winner in this race, where I mentioned like River Master and Obelix. They don't win that often. He's not prolific, but he's been running in like group races. So to come back into handicap company here, I feel like he's the proverbial group horse in a handicap. And he hasn't been running bad in those races either. There's one behind Sharon last year at Ascot where another horse who's in here too, High Royal, was 20 lengths in front of him. So he's worth mentioning for the fact that, you know, there was a very, very big difference between the two of them, but he's not running very well at the moment. Whereas I do think that Flight Pan is showing a bit about himself. I just think 102 that he's currently off is almost offensive for what this horse has done in the past. I can't believe he's as big a price as he is. Yeah, 9 to 1 with Matano at the time of recording, 4 places up for grabs. He feels like a very safe each way bet, but I genuinely think he could win.
Oh, and to win as well. But like you say, a nice price to boot. 9 to 1 there for Flight Plan, who again is another horse that's running off of a lofty enough rating there of 102 for Dave. Andrew, who do you like in the THC?
Yeah, it's a tricky old race, this one. It used to be a go-to thing, big fields handicaps over 7 furlongs and a mile at Thirsk, to avoid those drawn very low. But in recent years, and certainly so far this season, it doesn't seem to have been such a disadvantage to have that inside draw. So narrowing the field on account of the draw is not as easy. I was concerned about the mile trip for Our Havana, the one of the favourites, stepping up from 7 furlongs. La Trinidad is a horse I like, but his wins tend to come in high summer. He's got a touch of the Mr. Wagyus about him. He's had 6 runs in June. He's won 5 of them. So I think he's one to sort of, watch with a view to backing him later in the season on his reappearance. Kingdom Come is 0 from 7 on turf. I want it to be against him. Redana's worth a mention because he won this race first time out at 66 to 1 a couple of years ago. And he was always a horse I had to back second time out. So I thought he was the first one to cross off in this race 2 years ago. I thought he's got no chance on his seasonal debut, but I want to be with him next time out. Bang, he's gone and won. So likes the track. He's an 11-year-old now. So I'll cheer if he beats me, but not if he beats Obelix into second, who's my pick, who was better the closers, went 4th over 7 furlongs here last time out. In 2023, he was 10th on his comeback. And then he only just got beaten at Newmarket by 3/4 of a length in a big field handicap, went 25 to 1. So I think he's going to take a big step forward. Certainly got an asterisk next to the name of Obelix. There's one for the
nice. Even I got that reference.
Fans of the Gaul. Julia Camacho has been in good form. So Obelix still 11. Hopefully there'll be a strong pace, and they sort of those are towards the inside and go off too quick. Set it up for the closers out wide. I think back over his optimum trip of a mile, Obelix is going to give us a good run for our money.
Great name, Obelix, isn't it? Yeah, 7 to 1 then for Obelix as well. So a nice price to boot, despite him being second favourite. Just goes to show how competitive it really is. And that is 7 to 1 with Batano. But a notable mention as well for Radana, who's the 20 to 1 outsider of the field. But hopefully he doesn't come and chin Obelix. Right, we will head back to Newmarket now for the 255, the Group 3 Palace House Stakes, 3-year-olds and over 5 furlongs. And again, we continue just to have these competitive handicaps coming at us, group contests coming at us as well now. And we currently have 4 to 1 the field in this one, Andrew. So yeah, they don't get any easier to solve.
Yeah, this is an absolute belter. I went down the rabbit hole with this one. Probably spent far too long on it, considering there was 6 races I needed to look at. Now I'll start with the big price one here, 100 to 1 or thereabouts. Pepsi Cat for Steph Hollinshead. Now, she's a funny one, 6-year-old mare. Now, often a lot of fillies and mares do best when running against their own sex, but because this one needs such a strong pace, she tends to appreciate taking on male rivals when perhaps they're going to go a bit quicker. And I think she's lost all 10 starts when running against her own sex. But in open races can open to male horses as well. When she's been returned to the track within 6 weeks, she's won 7 of her 14 starts. Sort of fillies and mares do well in this race as well. So I thought Pepsi Cat wasn't completely out of this. But As for my bets in the race, I'm going to go with two others. One of them I've just got a sort of small interest in, which is Rumstar for informed Johnny Portman. He's got a slightly odd pattern to his form. He only wins when he's drawn on the outside of the field. He's won 4 times, all on turf. He was drawn 5 of 5 at left-handed Bath, so he's on the outside. 16 of 16 at Goodwood, came down the near side. 11 of 11 over this course's distance, and 1 of 6 at Ascot when he was down the middle of the track. So he's drawn in stall 1 here today. So that's stall 1 of 11. So I thought he's a quirky individual. Seems to need lots of daylight. Likes coming sort of like, bit of the Greta Garbo's, likes racing alone. So maybe Rumstar can go well around about 10 to 1. But the one I can't get away from is No Half Measures for Richard Hughes. Now this one arrives here with a record of 6 wins from 11 starts. You could argue that she's perhaps unlucky not to be arriving here with a sort of Frankel style 11 from 11 record. Now last time out she was 5th of 16 in the Prix de l'Abbé. She was drawn in stall 12 that day, and that was absolutely no good. You needed to be drawn low. You look at the horses who were also drawn high in that race. Magira, stall 16, had 0 chance. Has sort of run well since, and there's other horses who've were drawn in double figures who've come out and won. La Bellotta and Rogue Lightning, two of the examples. So No Half Measures. You look at her defeats. That 5th in the Prix de l'Abbé, couldn't win from the draw. 6th of 15, beaten 3/4 of a length, again over 5 furlongs at Longchamp and drawn in stall 10. 3rd of 28 in the Palace of Holyrood Handicap at Royal Ascot when winning the race on the far side. 2nd on a racecourse debut when a 10 to 1 shot behind an odds-on favourite who made all, and 5th of 7 at Sandown when she met trouble and wasn't helped by racing on the inside rail to start with. Again, trip-wise, you could argue that perhaps sort of 5 furlongs would be better, but now she's had a year to strengthen up. I think 6 could well be her trip. She won well at Deauville the last time she raced at this trip. So I think No Half Measures could be a really, really good filly this season. Ryan Moore riding for Richard Hughes, coming out of stall 10. If they come towards this near side, then I'll give her a good chance. And talking to the Prix de l'Abbé, the other one worth mentioning is Magira, who now runs for Ed Walker, having been trained in France last year. And so she finished last in the Abbé, went 51 to 1, but still 16 made that completely impossible to win from that position. And it's interesting that Ed Walker, who of course won the Prix de l'Abbé with Makarova, has ended up training this one now. So she's around about 16 or 20 to 1, I think, but I will just keep an eye on her in case there's any money. I'm just thinking now I might have looked at this race at the 5-day stage and she's not actually running, isn't she?
Yeah.
Well, there's one for your tracker then.
Yeah.
But yeah, my idea here was to back No Half Measures, save on Rumstar, and have a very silly price of a lottery ticket each way on Pepsi Cat.
Nicely done. Yeah, No Half Measures. Botano traders have not missed her whatsoever. 4 to 1, currently heading the way with Botano rather than with plenty of other places. Beautiful Diamond it is who is heading the way. So Botano, definitely agree with you there. Rumstar is at 12 to 1, and Pepsi Cat, the clear outsider, at 100 to 1 there as well, as a big price play then for Andrew. Dave.
Yeah, I did like the chance of No Half Measures. She's 2 from 2 under Ryan Moore, isn't she? She won that race in Newbury over 5 furlongs when it was heavy ground. But I don't think good ground 5 furlong is quite going to be enough of a test for her. But I was not trying to make a case against her, but she's the one I'm most worried about potentially beating my rival. However, I can get 16 to 1 about Democracy Dilemma, who is in that Newbury race on heavy ground, £4 worse off with No Half Measures, and hated every bit of the heavy ground, but was only beaten about a length and 3/4. Ran on soft after, was well beaten by Rumstar, I think it was, but again, it was on bad ground, and the trainer says that he just doesn't really like that going. I think he's just stupidly overpriced. Now, Tom Marquand's on him again. When we talked about Ryan, I talked about Ryan Moore being 2 from 2 on no half measures. Tom Marquand is 1 from 1 on Democracy Dilemma. When he won on this horse, it was his first run of the season on these shores. I need to caveat that because he had a couple of runs over in Dubai, which he hasn't had this year. Now, it was the first season that he'd been with his new trainer Robert Cowell last year. He did manage to pick up listed success, so this is a Group 3 now. He has got to sort of prove that he can really mix it in this company, because there's not an abundance of form that he's got that says he can do it in group races. The Newbury run, though, behind no half measures, I still do think is pretty good, especially now the fact that the ground has come more in his favour. He does seem to go well at this time of year. If he's going to pinch a group race, or especially like a Group 3 type standard, I think this might be the time to catch him. 16 to 1 looks massive, especially considering Tom Marquand has been booked to ride him. I just think he's an obvious shortener, and I think he must have a proper chance in there. It's a tricky one when we talk about the each way places. I know I do it all the time as well, but we've got 11 runners in here. There's 3 places up for grabs. I think the 16 to 1 about in 3 places just looks like I can't see how he's out of the frame, especially on the quicker surface. So he'd rate a pretty strong each way bet, but he properly must have a chance of winning this, because it's the second season with his trainer. They managed to progress him into a listed winner last year. No reason why they can't take another step forward this time, I don't think, and potentially land a Group 3.
16 to 1 as well, Democracy Dilemma. So a nice price to boot as well then for Dave, and compelling case made indeed. Right, we're going to move on to the main event itself then on Saturday for 3:35, the Group 1 2,000 guineas for the 3-year-olds over a mile. Now, of course, John Gosden currently has the favourite for the race with Field of Gold. He's been well supported ever since that reappearance win last time out. However, as we all know, this is the only classic that John Gosden is lacking off his CV. So, Dave, is he going to break the curse this time?
Oh, I don't know. He was very good last time out, wasn't he? I'm a big Wimbledon Hawkeye fan, but I was probably disappointed with him. So I think he probably could have run better. But Field of Gold battered everyone in the Craven, didn't he? I think it's 2 winners from 52 horses that have come from the Craven to win this race, as in they're very much like their next start. I don't think many horses would have run in between it, but he looked really good, didn't he? I don't know whether it's the fact that he is an absolute weapon, or he just looked good against horses that weren't really at their peak at that point. So I'm kind of lukewarm on him. I can understand why he's towards the head of the market, but yeah, I'm just not completely and utterly sold. I feel similar with a few of them at sort of shorter prices as well. I think Expanded for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. Obviously, we know how Aidan O'Brien likes to operate his horses, and he just wins Group 1 after Group 1, doesn't he? The fact that Shadow of Light's got the tongue tie on, and I think he ran behind Expanded or beat Expanded, there's just a little bit in there that would suggest to me that that horse wasn't necessarily up to his best when Expanded beat him. Obviously, William Buick's not on Shadow of Light. He's riding Ruled and Court, which looks fine, but I just don't know how strong his form is. But we just don't know that, do we, when it comes to this classic? We'd like to be able to pick out the winners of the 2,000 guineas with ease, but they are 2-year-olds turning into 3-year-olds. We don't have any measurements to do with their weight, their circumference, all that sort of stuff to see how much they've developed from year after year. And the reason I say that so much is because Scorvy Champ was a little horse last year, and it may just be that he was just a very good 2-year-old, or he was at least going to peak as a 2-year-old. He's got 2 full siblings, one's a boy, one's a girl. They didn't really, I mean, they did progress from 2 to 3, but they weren't winning progressions. They were just running well in behind. But I thought he was really good last season. He had his first run where he was behind Henry Matisse. There was only a 4-runner race that day. He was slow away, and I just think tactically, Henry Matisse got the first run on him. Then after that, he did manage to reverse the form when they got him stoked up a little bit sooner, and he went and beat that horse. Now, Henry Matisse was a bit green running around there, but I still don't think if he'd have got near Scorphy Champ, he would have actually been able to beat him. That form's obviously been franked. Henry Matisse went and won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, didn't he? And then, as much as it wasn't an impressive win earlier this season, he has come out and won as a 3-year-old. I just think he's probably been a little bit understated in the market for the fact that it's Joseph O'Brien rather than Aidan O'Brien. And like I say, he probably was bred to be a good 2-year-old and maybe not step forward so much as a 3-year-old. So there's risks attached in the fact that I'm saying that. But if he does just take a small step forward, and we won't know how big he looks until we can see him on the TV and such like that, I just think he could be overpriced. I think his form is equally as good as anything else in here from last season. He's had a significant time off between as well, so there's every chance that he's progressed a bit from last year. And I think the race where we beat Henry Matisse as well, the National Stakes, that has found a few winners of this race. I touched on the Craven where it's had 2 from 52. I think there's been two winners this century from 12 horses that have come straight from the national stakes in here as well. So it's a slightly better strike rate. It's obviously a very competitive race, isn't it? But I thought Scorpy Champ, especially with a few places up for grabs, would be the one I'd want to be cheering home.
I thought you were gonna, with that start of that, I thought you were gonna be putting a pin in him straight away, and it's come full circle back to actually siding with him. So you throw us a curveball at the start of that, and have brought it right back around. Then 8-1 about Score the champion here for Dylan Brown, McMonagle, and Joseph O'Brien for Dave. Andrew, how are you playing the 2,000 guineas?
Yeah, this is really difficult to fathom in terms of Godolphin in the jockey bookings, because you've got the best juvenile on rating, Shadow of Light, who won 4 of his 5 starts, second by 3/4 of a length to Cool Hoofalook in the crack in the other when he had the worst of the draw. York, there was a massive bias. The closer you were to the far side rail in the straight, the better. Now he was drawn in stall 9 of 10 that day, which is a big disadvantage. Although the winner, Cool Hoofalook, came out of 8, he did switch towards the far side. We've seen loads of winners come out of that race. Big Mojo, for example, was won at Ascot already this week. Maybe it's the trip or the going, because he only raced on good or softer. And, his last 2 wins came on soft ground. But you look at his breeding, being by Lope de Vega, you don't think there's going to be any problem with good to firm ground. But it's the first time tongue tie, stall 2, and the fact Mikael Barcelona's on instead of William Buick, who's on the other side of the track in stall 11 on ruling court. So again, I think it's a case of watch those earlier Newmarket races, find out if there is any bias. I know the stalls are in the centre, but they'll probably end up going one side over t'other. And if there is a stands rail bias, then ruling court might be the one. His only defeat came at York in the Acomb, when he wasn't as well drawn as the 2 who'd beaten the line, and Winter and Wimbledon Hawkeye. So I think this is. I was really thinking it's between the 2 Godolphin runners. So I didn't like Field of Gold at the price at 7-4, despite that impressive Craven win. I'm thinking of going sort of ruling court, Shadow of Light, and the reverse forecast on the pair. But I'm at the prices, and I'll go Shadow of Light, despite the jockey booking.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Mikael Barcelona taking the ride, and that first time tongue tie going on him as well. But him in stall 2, ruling court in stall 11, then with William Buick taking the ride. But interesting on the Godolphin front though, but Shadow of Light, the bigger price one of the 2 of those as well, 8-1 with Bitano.
Yeah, there could be some value in if you're doing forecast betting. I'm just thinking back to remember when Caribus beat Native Trail into second. The perceived second spring that day under James Doyle, again opposite side of the tracks. Caribus coming out of stall 1, Native Trail out of stall 15. So it reminds me of that. So that could be the value.
Yeah, that was the upset, wasn't it? As you say, everyone on Native Trail pretty much then, but James Doyle with the double that year in terms of the Guineas, wasn't it? And it does just go to show that the second string for Godolphin can beat them even in classics as well. I'm going to be very unoriginal here though with Field of Gold, so I feel like we are covering a lot of the field in here, but I know he's got the various caveats and curses and trends that he's got to overcome for this, but I do think that this is John Gosden's best chance for a long time for his to get this English Classic on his CV. Of course, the first English Classic back in 1996 in the St. Leger with Shantou, and we know how well he's farmed that race subsequently, but this one has just eluded him for whatever reason. But it's that Craven win, which is why I want to side with him. Oh, so impressive. And I agree with you, Dave, over a horse who I think is so talented and probably overpriced as a result to run into a place, Wimbledon Hawkeye, about 20-1 for this. So if I like that form line, I'm going to have a little each way saver on him as well. But Field of Gold, he just looked as though he had massively progressed for that return, travelling so well throughout the race, pulling away inside the final furlong. And considering it wasn't a well-run race, he could be marked up to a large extent considering where he came from in the field. However, it was also a windy day that day, so he was aided by the cover that he got throughout the main part of the race. So you can see that race either way for his positioning, but he is a big horse, appears to have grown into his frame, and he just looks as though he's going to go on improving. Of course, he's by Kingman, who finished second in the 2,000 guineas. So hopefully he doesn't emulate his sire in the sense of winning his trial really impressively and then going on not to win the main event itself. But if the ground got quick, that's the only other thing I want to be keeping an eye on for Field of Gold here. He's a sizable colt, and I am slightly concerned if it does go pretty quick for him that he might just suffer as a result of that. But he sets the benchmark. I don't want to abandon him now. A little bit of a saver, therefore, on Wimbledon Hawkeye on that form line. And also Seagulls 11, who just had no right to do what he was able to do last year as a 2-year-old, given the size scope of him as well. He's a big price in here, about 40 to 1. So he was one I expected to come forwards. He had little issues as well last year, as we know. And he still was able to do himself justice. I wouldn't even look at the Breeders' Cup for his last run as of anything. That was never going to suit him, just going over there to run him, really. But 33 to 1 about Seagulls 11. I'll also be having a save on him just in the hope that he progresses now as a 3-year-old. Right, that's the 2,000 guineas done. We're going to take an early look ahead to the 1,000 guineas. Of course, comes up at Sunday, on Sunday at 3:35. Another Group 1 contest, the turn of the fillies, aged 3 years, over a mile. So we don't have declarations, therefore we don't have draws, don't have anything of the above. But Batano have a super boost on the current favourite, Desert Flower. So make sure to head over to Batano, to the website there, to take advantage of that super boost as soon as it is in. But lads, Andrew, I'll go back to you then. 1,000 guineas, early look.
Very boring. Desert Flower, 4 wins from 4 starts by a combined margin of almost 17 lengths, bolted up over course and distance in the fillies mile, and the ground will be absolutely fine. So yeah, bomb-proof for me. Lump on.
Super boost.
I mean,
super boost for the Flower. There you go. Andrew's going to take full advantage of that. Dave, you in agreement?
I mean, yeah, the super boost would definitely lure me in more than the sort of even money she's at the time of recording, but we've got to get final declarations. There's even a chance that price could tighten up a little bit. She is obviously phenomenally impressive. She would look a proper standout 1,000 guineas horse in any other year than Lake Victoria doing what she did. You touched on like the Breeders' Cup meeting for Seagulls 11 last time out, that you put a line through that performance, and then you look at a horse like Lake Victoria when running in Del Mar in that race where they stepped her up to the mile. I think lots of people watch that race because they know how good she is as a horse and we're expecting big things from her. But early on in the race, Ryan Moore had to be put like sort of forced out of position. We know what it can be like in those American races. They take no prisoners early on, but the stones that Ryan Moore has, which we know anyway, to sit as comfortably and calmly as he did for a whole stepping up in trip to then go and win the way that she did, it's just going to be some spectacle between the two of them. I think the price discrepancy between the two of them is probably too much. But you go back a little while with Lake Victoria as well. Do you remember when Ryan Moore was on, was it Bedtime Story over in Ireland? And then Lake Victoria looked like a nice type, and then she went and won under a different jockey. Like, she wasn't expected to be the superstar. There was other horses that were expected to be there. So that then sort of lures me back towards Desert Flower. But being the greedy man that I am, I want a bigger price, Desert Flower. So thank you very much, sponsors Batano, for answering our calls.
Yeah, exactly. With that super boost then on the Batano website, make sure to head there to take advantage of that super boost. But currently priced up at 10 to 11, Desert Flower, the favourite. Lake Victoria at 7 to 2 next in. So perhaps that price is just a little bit big about Lake Victoria as well. Right, lads. Dave, I'll go back to you, please. Anything from anywhere else?
No, I barely got time to look at these 6, as you can tell, so I haven't got anywhere else.
/7 with the 1,000 guineas chucked into the mix as well. Andrew, anything from anywhere else?
Yeah, just the one. Newmarket 440 Saturday. Uncle Don, top weight in the 6 furlong class 2 handicap. This one had a good juvenile season, second on his first 3 starts, beating Big Mojo in the second of them. And then last time out, massive eye catcher in the 2-year-old trophy at Redcar, finishing 7th of the 19 runners. Monster draw bias that day. I think the going stick reading was something like 5.7 on the stand side, 7.4 on the far side, giving low drawn runners a huge advantage. The first 6 were drawn 5, 2, 3, 7, 8, and 4 of 19. Uncle Don, an 8 to 1 shot, did best of those to come to finish from the high draws, coming out of stall 13, so finishing 7th. Was also ridden from off the pace, which is not helpful at Redcar at the best of times. That was a massive run. I put him up as a bet in my column when he was due to reappear at Chelmsford recently. He was bet from something like 20 to 1 into 8 to 1 and then was withdrawn with a self-cert. I'm not sure what was going on there, but they've got Ryan Moore booked back on turf. And I think Uncle Don's going to have a really good season, could develop into a group performer based on that red car listed run. So in a handicap off 97, I think he's a good play here.
Yeah, the top weight in that we don't have prices through yet, but the top weight Uncle Don in that 440 at Newmarket on Saturday. Right, Andrew, back to you, please, for your nap. And I know you know this.
I know it. I know. I've revised this. No half measures in the Palace House, which is a 6 furlong race, a 5 furlong race, so not a 6 furlong race, as I said earlier. So.
Oh, to be honest, I
think
didn't
I'm the
even
one.
notice.
I think I'm the one with jet lag and turbulent sickness, not Dave.
Yeah, what's your excuse? There you go, Dave. Your nap, please.
I'll go for the 1 mile Conqueror Filly Stake and Crimson Advocate to back up that performance at 1 mile from last time out.
Beautifully done. Now, Botano have already boosted the nap double from 24 to 1 to 28 to 1 about the pair of your naps then. So nice nap boost. And the link for that boost is in the description. Now I'm going to just chuck my own nap into the mix as well, because Joe Tuffin is absolutely out of me on that front now. It's going to be Field of Gold in the 2000 Guineas. Hopefully it doesn't get too quick, and hopefully he manages to get John Gosden that first 2000 Guineas success, and for him as well. But lads, great to be reunited with the pair of you two. Dave, you're going to go back to bed now and have a long sleep, but we will talk to you again next week. So
Which one are you talking to?
Definitely, Dave. You can go for a sleep as well if you want, Andrew. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not about to stop you by any means. But lads, thank you so much for your time and hard work. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to our sponsors at Botano, and we will speak to you again next week.